Hey there. Alright, today we're gonna talk about the epic troops tier list. Okay, and before we start, just a little disclaimer. I'm playing this game at this stage nearly 6 months. I've played most of those characters on a regular day basis. I've played with all of the epic troops on this or that occasion. So this is based on my personal experience, based on my setups and the way I utilize those troops. Okay, so again, if you have different opinions about it, it's totally fine. This is not how it should be. This is based on my experience, my knowledge, and how I play, which ultimately you can backtrack, I think, 4 or 5 months. That's since I started making contents and everything. It's in playlists. So if you wanna check out how it went on the beginning, I'll direct you there. Anyway, let's go. So guys, I'm gonna just use it based on the order I have it on my list. So this is without any particular suggestions, which are the best, which are the worst. I'm gonna initially talk few words about each of the characters and how I see them, and then I'm gonna create a list with leagues, the gold, silver, and bronze, with the diamond league as well, which I'll suggest the top troops to have, in my opinion. Gold league are the troops you wanna have and utilize. Silver are the ones which are pretty good, and if you back them up with healers and stuff like that, they'll be very convenient. While the bronze are the ones you should not worry about, and you can use them to utilize as a food for other troops in order to rank them up. Okay, so first on the list, guys, we're gonna have Ninja Mole. These guys attack the closest mage and or range unit. They create area damage plus they stun when they pop out. Also they add 1 stack of poison per attack, so depending how strong the opponent is and how many of them you have, they quite convenient. Now if you use them, you wanna use 2 or 3 units, so and separate the moment they pop out, so they pop and stun one after the other as opposed to all together. That's how be the best way to utilize them. They have also relatively small damage and small health, just so you know, because these stats are going divided by the 4 characters we have currently in my army, so that's how that goes. Next ones next one is the Necromant's Rat, which has quite average attack and small health. Now he spawns minions. He himself attack an area with the poison. But the minions can be quite destructive, and I personally find him the best counter for Oni. You wanna have 2 or 3 units. They used to be much more aggressive, but they got nerfed down a little bit a few months ago, so unfortunately they're not as productive as they used to be. I'm talking about the whole unit of 5 minions and him. But yeah, a really interesting character. Anyway, next stop, guys, we're gonna have Arcane Hunter. Arcane Hunter has average attack with the small health. He ultimately pierces everything on its way, so that's a very convenient character to have. Next stop, Golem. Merman. Mermans have average attack with quite big health, so you can utilize them as tanks or definitely they're frontliners. They also have immunity to burn, so it's a good counter for burning units. And they also offer that for allies in the radius surrounding them, and also it boosts their attack speed. So quite cool characters, I think slightly underestimated, but yeah, I personally like them. Now the Golem has small attack but has very big health. I would say that's the biggest from all the epic characters. Upon its death, it breaks, dealing damage with the knockback, and also increases his death by. This is when I don't read my notes well. You see, increase his death by additional 20%. Yeah, so I'm not really sure how much he's increasing his defense when he's dealing damage by breaking apart upon his death. That don't make sense. Let's just check that out very quickly. There you go. So that's the death he's creating. Okay, so he just has the increased defense by 20%. There you go. That's just so you know. Okay, we're gonna talk about grading and how good he is in a moment. For now, just a few words about it. Let's push further. That's Conductor, guys. Conductor has average attack with a small defense. He electrocutes units surrounding the target. Regular attack against electrocuted units will be boosted by additional 25% of critical chance, so that's quite cool. Now he works very well with all the electricians like Thor. There is Storm as well. So electrocution also, just you might wanna know, it prevents the healers from healing. So if you have enemies with a lot of healers, this one can kind of prevent them from doing their job. So that's a quite convenient one. Next up, the Cleric, guys. He's a healer. And the trick about this one is that he's actually really staying in the backline. So other healers are really going with other troops, and Velifs are going with the front line, while the Water Maiden stays kind of behind them, but she's also sometimes silly enough to go forward. Clerics, not really. They might go around if you have them on top line and the action happens on the bottom. They might kind of go on the back line of the enemies even sometimes. But ultimately they're supposed to stay on the back of your setup. So if you have something like Archangel, for example, defending him and strong backline with a lot of ranged troops, clerics will be very convenient for you because they'll kind of focus on healing those guys instead of those guys in front. Yeah, that's a quite nice troops to have. Okay, Verleaf. He's increasing the defense of allies surrounding him while regenerating their health back up. So I would say that that's quite nice character with small attack and average health. Best is to have 2 or 3 of those guys together, because that's when they heal each other and they ultimately create a wall which will be very difficult for you to go through. Next up, Mushroom Shield. Mushroom has small attack with big defense, therefore this is a very good character for tank. They generally counter poison, okay, and they're gonna turn poison into the boost of defense, and they push a little bit, having I think a little knockback when they kick, as far as I remember. But quite interesting character, and if you don't have golems and you have those guys, definitely it's worth to utilize those. Now, Crabomancer. As much as you beat him, as stronger he gets. Counters electrocution with attack speed boost. So I would say that this is the strongest attack from epic characters, and I would say that this is, if not the strongest, that's one of the top 3. This in terms of attack and how much, you know, benefit you might have from having this character. So he might look a little bit you know, not really strong. I initially didn't thought much of this character and I kind of left it in development for a long time, but then it turns out that it's a badass beast, so highly recommended to have this one. Okay, I think we need to go a bit further. There you go. Next up, the Catapult. Catapult creates an area which burns enemies inside, and they have small attacks with small defense. That's obviously the backline. Toy. I'm currently working to develop them to rank 10, and with all the skills and talents to see how worth they are, because I feel like I got smashed once and I wasn't sure if the damage I received was from them or by the firecasters. But something big and nasty happened to me on that game and I remember, so I just wanna see them. I have my main setup kind of developed right now, so I can work on that. So if you're interested, stay in touch. I'm gonna definitely pop some update about it in a couple of weeks. Next up, guys, we're gonna have Pyromaniac. Again, creates an area that burns enemies inside, explodes upon death, dealing damage with a bit of knockback. So if you have weak ninja modes, for example, they're not gonna cut it, because these guys will gonna destroy them. Even though they have small attack and small defense and small health, they can be developed, they can be quite annoying. All right, so that's that. Next stop, Abomination. I love the name, but they're kind of not the biggest fan of them. So small attack, small defense, applies an area poison upon death, slowing enemies down caught in that area. So they're definitely counter for poison. They can back up your poison units as well. If you have healers, they can be slightly annoying, but yeah, I don't really consider them, you know, very kind of convenient and productive. If you don't have any other troops, they can be quite cool for tanks, but again, if you have someone countering poison, they're quite useless. Next stop, we're getting to the highly developed part. Warrior Carriage. Guys, small attack, small health, spawns troops, either goblins, swordmen, trolls or orcs, and it has small chance to stun enemies on its path to the backline. So not the biggest fan of it. If you have plenty of those guys initially in the game, they can create some form of damage, especially if someone is not developed from the backline point of view. But if you have emirs, from the moment you have emirs, Warrior Carriage is not a threat to you. So yeah, initially on the game yes, later on the game not really. And the last but not least will be Valkyries, guys, with small attack, small defense. They have kickback, adds injury, which means that they drop max health of the opponent with damage, and I think they can stack that injury pretty much 20 stacks of injury. Yeah, so they can drop your max health by 20%. So if you push them, perhaps that will be a higher percentage. We shall ask someone who have them developed. But the opinions are, I don't really find them as a waste of time. I didn't really have to use them or need to use them. I have literally few opinions of people who have them, and they appreciate. They just always say that, you know, it's always worth to add healer, obviously, because they cannot self-heal. So yeah, I think that's all the characters we covered. Alright guys, so I'm gonna pop on the screen right now our leagues, just so you have it all if you wanna make a screenshot. So in the gold league we're gonna have a necromancer rat, arcane hunter, we're gonna have golem, conductor, cleric, verlif, crabomancer, with the fact that we're gonna put Hanta, Golem and verlif to a diamond league, okay? Because I find that those guys, you have them from the beginning and you can utilize them as far as you go. Then in silver we're gonna have Ninja Mole, Merman, Mushroom Shield, Pyromaniac, and we're gonna add Valkyria there as well. I was considering Valkyria in bronze, but recently I had an opinion which sort of convinced me that they should be in silver. And in bronze I'm gonna put Catapult, Abomination, sorry, with the exception that if you're using a poison set you might find them actually quite convenient. So if that's the case, for you they're in silver, but otherwise yeah, Abomination will be in bronze. Then we're gonna add there and also Warrior Cage, because sorry, it's a cage or carriage? I think it's carriage, there you go. Warrior Carriage goes back to bronze, which this is the kind of one things you can bin it. Anyway, alright guys, so that's the epic troops tier list based on my experiences and my opinions. Okay, so if you have different understanding of that, please pop that in comments. Let's have a conversation about it, so more people can benefit and have, you know, some insight into what's going on into the game in the early stages. Otherwise, thank you so much for spending this time with you. If you enjoyed it, please hit like. I like those likes. I like those likes. That was such a nice English. Anyway, that's a kind of small reward for me, you know, so don't be shy. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you next time, guys. Take care.